Hi there, welcome to this devotion. There's this guy I visited in prison that was worried because he was about to be released and he was worried about the community he was going to get released into, and this community was waiting for him. He had no other option but to go to this specific community, and it worried him. Then I met this guy. He was worried that getting out on probation was taking too long, and he was worried because his sister had diabetes and he might not get to see her because she wasn't doing very well. And when I reflect on these poor guys, I realize that we worry. And when I think about myself, I realize not only do I worry, but man, I'm good at worrying. Some days I sit and I worry about my preaching appointments. The very next morning, the thing foremost in my mind and my biggest concern is my children. And then the very next day I can't sleep at night worrying about work. You know, sometimes I think that worrying is my speciality. I'm sharing this because I believe I'm not alone in this. All of us, we worry about these things that we worry about, even though we realize it's pointless. Then the first century, the Christians, they were persecuted harshly by the people around them. So this guy by the name of Peter, one of Jesus' disciples, he writes to these communities that are feeling the fury of the pagan world around them. He writes to the Christians and he says to them, turn all your worries over to him. He cares about you. You know, saying they must turn their worries over to God. And by extension, he's saying that we should turn our worries over to God. But how? Peter, how do we turn our worries over to God? It's so much easier said than done. And then even further to that, how do I turn my worries over to anyone? Never mind about God. Yeah, I want to propose there are some ways to turn our worries over to someone. We turn our worries over to someone by relying on that someone. I have a friend, and when I'm a passenger in the car of that friend of mine, my seatbelt is on, my feet are firmly planted in the front of the car, and I try and make my hands look relaxed. You know, I don't want to give myself away that I'm worried or apprehensive about driving in the car. I've only been in the car with my friend once and never again. Phew, I managed to say that without telling you who the friend was. Anyway, when I'm a passenger with Phyllis again, I'm totally relaxed. I trust her and I know I can rely on her, and as years have gone by, I've even slept in the car while she's driving. And that's what it's like when we rely on someone we trust. By telling someone that we rely on them and allowing them to taking some of the worries away makes a big difference. Another way of sharing or giving away some of our worries is by telling someone, or by sharing our worries with someone else. And when I share my worries with the friends, most of the times I don't expect my friend to sort it out. I mean, that's not my intention. I definitely don't expect them to say, Craig, don't worry about that. The friends that I have and I share my worries with, they're empathetic and they hear, and that's all that matters. And Peter reminds us that our God cares. Sometimes when I rely on God and share my worries with God, my worrying disappears like the morning mist, and I say thank you to God for that happening. Other times when I'm worrying and that worry becomes reality, and I find the strength through God to get through it, afterwards I say to God, thank you. When we turn our worries over to God, we don't become carefree and careless. I would rather have 1,000 cares than be careless. God helps us carry our cares so that we in turn can help others carry their cares. What an amazing God we have, caring for us so that we can care for others. I hope that you learn to turn your cares over to God and to friends, and that I hope that you are able to learn to help others with their cares. Anyway, until we meet again, God bless.